This episode is sponsored by our friends at Payne Outdoors. No nonsense, straight talk, outdoor analyst, and custom plastics. Guggen Brothers Custom Tackle, custom made jigs and Ned rigs. Feel free kayaks. Pedal, paddle, or power, there's something for everyone. And Yak Gadget, proudly supplying you with American-made kayak fishing accessories and gear. Now, let's join our host, John Rapp.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rusty Hook Kayak Fishing Podcast. It's episode 24 time, and it's holiday season. Ho, 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 the Santa's helper's in the house. Hey, it's going to be a really good little show tonight. I thought we'd do a little something different while guys are doing a lot of online shopping, trying to get those last minute gifts. Maybe thought we would look at some online apps and some stuff that guys might want to look at to purchase for their 2022 season, or just download and look at and make themselves familiar with. So we got Chris Payne in the background. He's set up on the side of the road, looking mighty sharp. I should say, really sharp. Got off work. But yeah, so let's bring Chris on, and we will start chatting about everything kayak fishing. Hey, buddy.
Hey,
How is Chris Payne doing today?
and we're on the long end of a work day.
I hear you, brother. So talk to me, man. From last week to this week, we went talking stocking stuffers, and I know I didn't get with you too quickly about this episode because I was drawing a blank myself, and I was looking at my phone and I was thinking, man, I've got an iPhone. I've got a couple fishing apps on here. I've had more fishing apps in the past that when I've upgraded
Yeah,
phones, I didn't bring them back, you know. So I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna go back and look at those old apps that I've had, and see if they're worth bringing back on. And I thought, hey, that sounds like something that we could talk about tomorrow night. So
absolutely.
I am really interested in hearing what you use, what you have, and hopefully we get the guys that are on here that will they'll share this show and they'll like it and they'll comment. And when they comment, hopefully they'll do a screenshot of their phones for us so we can look at and see what other guys use and talk about apps that they use too. Um, so yeah, man, go for it. Talk to us.
So I've actually written quite a bit over the past few years. I look back to see the first time that I wrote an article on fishing apps for kayak fishermen, and it was in 2013.
Wow.
Um, so I've kind of this has been something that's always on my radar, and I'm always looking for something that's helpful and not hurtful, and something that I can use quite a bit. So the first one on mine, especially for guys who are not spending 500, 600, 900 or up on a fish finder, the number one app for me is Navionics. Um, Navionics is like $10 and you get all the maps. You've always got it in your pocket. It's a great way to um, pair that with a fish finder when you're fishing new water, especially to be able to locate humps, be able to locate long extended points, creek channel swings, all that stuff that we as fishermen look for. Navionics does a bang up job. And the nice thing about the phone app is you can go and just select a particular area of a lake or an entire lake. Like, you don't download the whole United States, you just download what you're looking for. And so if you're limited on space, you can download just a small portion of a big lake like Toledo Bend. If you're going to be focusing on, Turtle Bay, or you're going to be fishing on, Five Fingers or something like that, then you just select that area, and then it gives you all the topographical for just that area, along with all of the downloadable content that users have added to the Navionics app for different spots or points of interest or sunken things that they've marked. for people to be aware of. So Navionics is number one on my list. Number two on my list is Windy. So Windy is one of the most accurate wind prediction apps that I've used. Um, it's very accurate. It gives time of day changes based on what they're seeing. And so it will give you windows. So whether you're fishing in saltwater or freshwater, um, unless you're fishing in a river with high banks where the wind doesn't really matter that much, fishing big water, especially where a lot of these tournaments are on big water,
Yeah,
the Windy app will save you because you're going to know, because the wind may be blowing out of the south in the morning, and so you're going to, you want to paddle south into the wind first and then end up. But if it's going to change at the end of the day, you don't want to paddle into the wind and then back into the wind to get back to the ramp.
definitely.
So yeah, Windy saves you a lot of time, and it's been the most accurate that I've found. Um, the next one is for my saltwater folks out there. It's been an app that's been around for a long time. That is pretty darn accurate, and it's called Tides Near Me. So when you're fishing the saltwater, especially on the Texas coast, you can have, depending on the time of year, big swings in tide or small swings in tide. And even when it's a small swing in tide, knowing when the high tide is and when the low tide is will tell you whether or not you need to be fishing drains, ditches, back lakes. It will in essence tell you where the fish are going to be. Um, and so that is a huge thing, because you don't want to be fishing a slack tide that's going to sit there for 4 hours and spend your entire time fishing in a slack low tide. Like, it's just a waste of time. So Tides Near Me is my number three. My number four is a weather app. It's Climb, Clime. It's the NOAA weather app. It has a small subscription to it to unlock some of those, but it's negligible cost. And what I use that for are when storms are moving in. So I use that as my radar app. It has a very accurate radar app. I fish a lot of what are called highland reservoirs, which we have these high bluffs that you can't always see way off in the distance as to what clouds are moving in. If you're out on the plains where you can see 30 miles, standing on a tuna can, like you probably won't need that app. You're going to be able to see what's coming in. But if you're fishing at dark, or you're fishing with high bluff walls, or in the forest regions in East Texas where you've got the piney forest, where you can't really see the horizon very well, that's a good way to make sure that you're not going to get swamped out there in a huge thunderstorm that's coming up or whatever. And then number five on my list is one that I've learned the hard way, and it's called My Lightning Tracker.
Ooh,
And what it does is you can set a perimeter fence around where you're going to be fishing. And if there are lightning strikes within 30 miles of you, it sends an alert to your phone. Like, it goes buzz or buzzes, makes a sound. You can set it to do a lot of different things that lets you know, hey, within 30 miles of you, there's lightning strike that's been recorded. You need to be aware of this. And then it will track predictively where that lightning is going to come through, so that you've got time to take cover, to make sure that you take all those rods that are pointed up and lay them horizontally on your deck.
right.
Um, but there is nothing more frightening than that vibration off of fiberglass rods or graphite rods when a lightning storm is coming up on you, because that static gets high, and boy, it is just moments until something really bad is going to happen. So My Lightning Tracker, I use that a lot in the spring when we've got these huge thunderstorm cells that love to roll through Texas,
Oh yeah,
because it's good fishing before and after, but you don't want to be fishing during.
exactly.
It's a bad recipe. So My Lightning Tracker gives you a 30-mile window And you can shrink it down if you want to a 10-mile window or 5-mile window or 2-mile window. But I use that 30-mile window, so I've got plenty of window to get back to cover.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that might be a good app for us boys in this West Virginia region for those thunderstorms, pop-up storms that sneak up on us. Um, so that would be a definitely a good app.
so those are really my top five that I use right now. I have some others that I've used in the past, like the Angler app.
Yeah,
I actually worked with Todd Williams and that crew back when they were developing that. Because originally they had these sensors that you had to like latch onto your rods, and you had to change it out all the time, and all of this other stuff. And it was innovative at the time, but um, that's when we started brainstorming and came up with the idea of the bullseye, which is basically the thing that you just wear on your hat or on your pocket or whatever, that you just click it, and you click it once or you click it twice, depending on what you're wanting it to do. And it marks kind of GPS where you're fishing. It's downloadable. You can go back and keep up with a lot of stuff.
yeah, I've
So
got
the
a couple
Angler app,
screenshots on that one.
yeah. So the Angler app is good for tracking trips and where you're catching fish and comparing
Yeah,
that to your waypoints on your GPS and stuff like that. So they get an honorable mention here. Um, I I don't use it near as much anymore. I'm a creature of habit, and and I I have my fish finder with me every time now, and so I've already got my all of my waypoints marked, and so I'm not fishing a lot of new water. If I were fishing new water, I'd still be marking waypoints on my graph. So not as useful because I have GPS in my graph. But for those folks who don't have GPS and map tracking and trails in their graph, that is a phenomenal tool,
and
and it's cheap.
that was the point that I was going to use it for. Is that a lot of guys in this region who fish rivers who don't particularly keep a graph because they may have two boats set up, one for their lake with their graph and everything,
Yeah,
and then one for their rivers. And West Virginia rivers, I mean, you got pools, but most of the time to get to those pools, you're going to either low shoals or some type of class two rapids and some low level threes. And so that's what I liked about the Angler app. And but yeah, because guys could start and they could track where they were catching fish at. But I got another app that I was going to throw at you. I don't know if you. This is sort of one of the apps that I used when I was sort of. I would keep it on handy when I was a tournament director, and it was called Investigator. And basically, it's a metadata finder on photos. So I
yep,
use it. So like I fished the New River 4 years ago, and I had a great day on a specific float, but I don't remember where I caught those fish. So I go back and I use Investigator on those photographs, and I've got photos to show a little later to where it'll pull up the GPS location you took the photograph, and then you can move it to the map app and see where it was on the map. And if you're able to save the GPS data from there, or write it down, you can go to your fish finder if you're going to use it for a river and plug it in and save it as a waypoint. So I thought that might be a trick that some guys say, hey, man, I had a hell of a day 5, 6 years ago up on the St. Johns River, but I've fished it so many times since then. I can't remember where I caught those nice fish at. I'd like to maybe go back in there and try it again, and they can go back and look at old photos and find their GPS information.
and that technology is built into several of the tournament angling apps that we use.
Yes.
Um, as a tournament director, I've used that more than once, to be like, I don't know that this is in bounds.
Yeah, I
And
unfortunately had to. I had a couple guys that fished the tournament, and where we had some like we had bad weather, we had flooding, so we took
yeah,
the river out of the tournament and made it lake only.
yep,
Well, those boys, they'd already been out in the woods camping, and West Virginia don't have cell signal everywhere, so they didn't get the information that rivers were off limits. Well, when they started uploading fish, we're like, hey, where were you fishing at? And I mean, it looks like based on what I'm seeing from the GPS coordinates, you were
Mhm.
in an out of bounds area. Well, no, yeah, well, you missed the updated meeting for the bad weather. We took that out of bounds. So I hated to break that bad news to those guys because they finished first and second. But it just happened to be that's the way it worked out on that specific tournament.
Yep. Yeah. That's a good one. That technology is really good. You know, it's funny how far we've come with that technology because once people figured out that like some of the apps that we use for submitting fish for tournaments had that in there, they were afraid we were going to sell that.
Right,
And then they download apps like Fishbrain.
right.
And you want to talk about telling the world where you're fishing.
Yep.
If you want to turn a honey hole into a community hole, all you got to do is put it on Fishbrain because it will tell the world uh, where you're fishing and what you fit. Like I, I don't like that app. That
Yeah.
app puts a lot of money in certain anglers' pockets, and good for them for getting paid. Um, but I can promise you that good anglers are very selective of when they upload something to that app and when they don't.
Well, that's the
But
other thing, Chris. That's the other thing that I like about this investigator app too, is it also
yep,
has a stripping ability. So if you wanted to use a program, let's say like Angler app or FishBrain, that you upload your photograph, and sometimes it automatically geotag that location based off the metadata. But you don't want that information to get out. You just want to upload the photo because, like, I did a couple of those little challenges that they had last year. With Feel Free was used teaming up with them, and I uploaded a fish. I never uploaded any of my good ones, but then I remember I looked at that app. I paid the $4.99 fee for it, and it has that ability to go in and remove GPS data from it. So I thought that was worth it there too, especially because everybody likes to share photographs of their big fish, and why not?
yep,
So there's your opportunity. The good thing about putting a photo on Facebook too, it strips everything from it, so
yep.
they strip the metadata unless it's got a face on there, and then they want to track you where you've been, but not your fish. But it's something to look at.
Yep. No, that's a good one. There are a lot of different apps out there. I think they're great for recreational anglers,
Yes.
but understand for every one person asking you a question, there's 50 behind there that are just lurking to steal your spots. So you if you're if you're a recreational angler, that's usually not a big deal. If you're a tournament angler, I would recommend not using those apps.
Yeah.
Um, for that kind of stuff, at least very selectively. Maybe go to a known community hole on a weekday or whatever and post some pictures there, or use it as a misdirection.
Yeah. You go.
You know, some gamesmanship.
Little
Be like,
little,
man, we
little,
was
little
laying over
psychops,
here.
little psychops
Yep,
going on there. Yeah.
yep. But if you've discovered a new rock pile that nobody else seems to be fishing and it's in 30 foot of water and it's at an obscure GPS location that you wouldn't know it was there unless you floated over it, I wouldn't put that on those apps.
I agree.
I would not do it.
But you're right. You just focused on something that I was going to go towards, so we'll jump to that way. Is that we've talked
Okay.
about several apps that are really good for guys that are tournament anglers, but the guys that are just getting started in kayak fishing, and or even fishing in general, there's several really good apps out there, and I even still have them on my phone because I need refreshers every once in a while. And sometimes when you're out there and you're frustrated because you've been fishing 5 hours, you got one bite, you're like, all right, what does this recommend? There's a Bass Forecast,
Yeah.
and it also will give you the opportunity to describe the conditions that you're fishing in. Like, is it overcast? Is the water stained? things like that, and it'll give you one or two or three recommendations for what to throw. Um, and then the other is fishing knots for guys that are wanting to learn how to tie different type of knots on their hooks, um, especially that blood knot. You know, that when you're starting to try to learn how to put two lines together, and I still can't do it, but that's why I got a beautiful wife who is a fantastic crocheter, and she can do anything with the fishing line. So I just, here, honey, help me out.
Yeah. Tie this leader onto this braid, please.
Yeah, uh, doesn't help that my eyes are so bad I can't see, but
Yeah. Yeah, and so those are great. Here in Texas, we have a pretty cool thing. Our Texas Parks and Wildlife has an app that you can download that has the most up-to-date regulations and seasons and all of that, fish ID resources. They also allow you to upload, it will link up with your fishing license. And so you don't have to carry that extra paper with you. If you're a tournament angler, you can just pull it up in your phone and show it to them like you would car insurance or whatever.
nice.
And it's got it's the entire outdoor annual that is in an app form, and so you can find all of the so if you're trying to figure out, do I measure this redfish with a pinch tail or a fan tail, or closed mouth, open mouth, how do I measure this, do I bend the tail, do I not, it tells you all of that. It's got all of that information in there. And there are a lot of DNR groups in different states that do stuff like that.
Right.
The first one I saw, I think, was in Tennessee, maybe, because I think that was the first place I was able to buy a fishing license online. um, and that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, you mean I don't have to go find a Walmart when I get to
Yeah.
Tennessee to buy
Yeah.
a license? That's
Yeah.
nice. Not that they're hard to find, but standing in line and finding somebody willing to sell you one in a Walmart can be difficult. Um, so different uh, Texas Parks and Wildlife or different DNR groups, whoever controls your Department of Natural Resources and things like that, and in the different states, can be super helpful. Um, I'm glad you mentioned the fishing knots. So for people trying to join those lines, I really like the Alberto knot
Yeah.
um, on the fishing knots. It's easier to tie than some of the others, and I can remember it easier. There's some repetitive nature on each side before you pull the two tag ends together. So the Alberto knot's been super helpful for me.
That might have
Um,
been the knot I
and
meant to
then
say instead of blood knot. I think it might have been the Alberta knot. That is where you string it together and then you pull it pull it
yeah,
tight and
yeah.
both of them slide in.
Yep.
Yeah, that is the Alberta knot. Okay.
And then I'm trying to, I think that one of the apps that has probably not been used as much now because it's built into a lot of different apps, but the apps that do the lunar tables based on GPS location
Yeah,
um, can be really helpful.
I think that Bass Forecast has. See, there's also uh, I think the Bassmaster app also may have that on there. Um, I was looking at it today, but several of the apps that I have do have some of the lunar tables, the best time to fish, when the fish bite, when fish are close, the so one other app that we're different from you, in your type of fishing in West Virginia is uh, we follow some of the whitewater guys' advice, and we watch the Rivercast app, and that app will give
Yeah.
you the flow in different areas where they have flow meters on different rivers. And based off that flow, if you are knowledgeable of what flow levels are average, you can base, well, that's a little fast or that's a little low, and prepare for what kind of day you're going to have. And I think,
Yeah.
we've talked about it before, but Mikey Holcomb, I don't know if he's still planning on doing it or not, but he may be starting to provide us with that type of feedback in the near future on either his own show or coming on here as a guest. So that'll be good.
Yeah, that so those are really helpful. So around me, we fish the Brazos and the lower Colorado. And so if it's been raining, they may or may not be releasing. But knowing that CFS before you get there, because
Yeah.
there is nothing worse than not looking at it and getting to the river and it's running 6,000 CFS. And you're like, well, I really didn't want to do 8 miles in 12 minutes.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
but like, so, and those are really helpful too, because I think people who don't fish rivers, so if there are people, in kind of flat water areas and stuff that are thinking about fishing rivers, because the river float sounds fun. It's all great when it's, 100 CFS or 200 CFS. At 2,000 CFS, if you get caught in a strainer, we're talking about some life and death type situations,
Yes, we
like
are.
swiftwater rescue type stuff. And so those apps can actually save your life. So I'm
Yes.
glad you mentioned that, because we do have Texas rivers and we do have fishing, and it can get really out of hand, especially in the spring and late fall, early winter, when the rains really are doing their thing. Um, so knowing the cubic feet per second that the river is flowing it's a life saving technique. You know, if if it's high, staying home.
Well, it's
You
like
and
we did a tournament up on the Cheat River back in July, and they had just had a couple of really hellacious downpours from some thunderstorms, like 2 or 3 days prior to the tournament. So uh, me and Jack went up early. The water was mud and it was flowing high. And our next day we did a practice run. We had a great day because we caught 40, 50 smallmouth. Uh, both of us were sitting in the mid to high 60s, 70s, thinking, okay, we duplicate this tomorrow tournament day, we're going to be in the money. Well, that river has three. It's created by three rivers to make that one Cheat River. Three areas flow into it. Uh, Unfortunately for us, overnight that water dropped 18 inches. All that storm had washed
ooh,
through. And so the next day we fished the same area. We still caught the same amount of fish, maybe a few, maybe six, eight, 10 less than the day before. But instead of biting and swallowing the bait, they were they were pecking it. So you had the fish just a little slower, a little different, and they weren't hitting top water as hard because the water wasn't moving as flow. And the other thing that was not fun was the day before when the water was high, the shoals we were able to get through, float through. But on tournament day, we had to get out of the boat, drag through them, get to the. So that sort of stunk it up a little bit for us. And of course, I neither one of us had a great as good a day. I think we were both about 15 inches less the following day than we were on tournament day. So
yeah,
yeah, those apps can help you. And like Chris was saying, if you have a weather app that shows you where the rain is the night before, and you have a river app that's going to watch those gauges, and you can judge if you know it's 30, 40 miles from where you're at, and water can travel 10 to 12, 15 miles overnight. So it can change the flow. And Texas, hell, you guys get 6, 8 inches of rain in an hour in a good storm.
we
So
can.
yeah, I mean, you
Yep.
guys get hammered down there. If we get 2 inches
Yeah,
up here,
it's a little squirrely. I had some friends that were doing the Pecos River out in West Texas, and the river rose so fast. I think it rose 24 or 28 feet in an hour.
oh my goodness.
Like, it was torrential. They had to abandon their kayaks and climb up on a cliff, and had to be helicopter air rescued out, because it was in the middle of nowhere. Um, I can't remember. So that story, if you want to read about that story and see the pictures and stuff, because uh, it was Bert Rodriguez and his son Daniel Rodriguez, who's a Marine and is a photographer. He's a professional photographer, so there's some beautiful imagery. But it's on LoneStarChronicles.com, and just look up Pecos River, Lone Star Chronicles, and it'll pull up a multi-part series. And it's a beautiful river when it behaves, but man, if you get a freak thunderstorm that comes through, that river wipes out everything, just everything. Um, they rescued some of his camera equipment in a pelican case at Lake Amistad.
How far was that
It just
away?
uh
20, 35 miles south.
yeah, something like that. It was pretty awful. But it's a fantastic read, but it tells you, it reminds you just how powerful Mother Nature is. Um, and some of these wide open areas, West Texas is wide open. And so when it rains and it's such hard ground, there's nothing that absorbs that much water. That's why we get those flash floods.
Yeah,
You can get 8 inches of rain, but the ground is too hard in a lot of Texas to absorb it. And so it just goes into wherever the creeks are, and the creeks fill up the rivers, and the rivers just come out of their banks in a hurry. And so apps like that are available now, if you have cell signal, that's the other thing,
that's
is
true.
if you don't have cell signal, these things are worthless. So having weather radios with you, and emergency comms and VHF radio, UHF radios, all of that kind of stuff are super super helpful when you don't have cell service.
And that's another
Um,
thing that people need to do when they you're going to go on a float trip or a trip somewhere where you may be in a remote location with no signal. One, you always let somebody know what your itinerary is too. Um,
float plane for sure.
Good. I mean, because I if you were going down there, it's almost like that the story that you told with you and your son and the Army Ranger or military guy,
Yep.
where you guys were out nowhere in the cold and he about froze to death. I mean,
Yep.
hypothermia. Uh, you got to let people know where you are just in case they don't hear from you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of GPS tracker locator type things that they have, even when you don't have cell signal.
Yep,
Spot makes one that our guys that fish offshore in the Gulf of Mexico, off the Texas coast and Mississippi, Alabama coast, and stuff like that use. And there's a lot of those different devices that way, if you do get in a bad pickle, you can activate that thing, and it, number one, contacts the Coast Guard, and number two, send your exact location to somebody. You have to be able to get to it, so you better have it near you on your life jacket, preferably. ERPB, I think, is what those are called. I don't know. I mess up the acronym all the time, but it's basically a personal location beacon that sends your GPS coordinates to somebody. And float plans and all that kind of stuff are really important. Um, Anytime that you're fishing in the wild, it's better to have people with you, and better to have people know where you're going to be on what days. We're going to float 12 miles this day. We're going to do 8 miles this day. You can
yep.
expect us back at camp at this time. Here's all our different camp stops, like where we're going to stop along the way, that you can check in and see if we've been there. Um, because if nothing else, and if the worst thing happens, it's a lot easier to be able to find your body if something horrible has happened, if that's
I
out
hate
there.
to even think about that. That's the reason. Hopefully, everybody takes a look at the stuff that we're providing them and put that on their phone and be safe. So, Nicholas Beltron has jumped on and said, "Yo, folks." And then we got Rick Garavaglia, who has said, "Apps, great topic. I use my notes app to keep track of my tournament notes, what lures I want to try, which ones are working, etc. I can even go back and look at prior seasons. As long as I remember to record how things went, it syncs with my computer, tablets, and phone." So Notes app. So that's something to look at. So
So
let's
yeah,
take a
I'm
quick
glad.
break. Let's take a quick break. We will come back and you can continue with that thought, and we'll rehash with what we've already talked about for the people that are jumping on here on the second half of the show. Sponsor break happening now.
Payne Outdoors, Straight Talk, an outdoor product analyst and custom soft plastic maker. Check out our reviews and products at our website, payneoutdoors.com.
Feel free kayaks, something for everyone. Pedal, paddle, or power, we can outfit you to meet your needs. For more information, visit feelfreeus.com.
Kayak Gadget offers all kinds of kayak accessories such as motor mounts, anchor systems, and other track-based items to make your time more enjoyable on the water. Visit their Facebook page, search Yak Gadget.
Guggen Brothers Custom Tackle specializes in jigs and Ned-style lures. Brothers who know what it takes to put fish in the boat. Check out their Facebook page. Search Guggen Brothers Custom Tackle.
All right, guys, it's John Rapp back with the Rusty Hook Kayak Fishing Podcast. Hey, we're getting ready to start the second half of the show tonight. Chris Payne and I have been running down some really good applications that you guys could use on your phone. Chris brought up earlier in the show that he has several articles that he's written about. It goes back even to 2013 on some of his blogs and websites. We'll try to get some links for you to look at those. But tonight, Chris has talked about some really cool apps that I'm definitely going to look at, and one of them is called or Lightning Tracker,
Yep.
Windy. So let's bring Chris back on and let him recap. And then he was starting a second thought, and I cut him off to go to sponsor break. So, all right, brother.
Now, so yeah, I think it's important to use some of the apps that may come standard with some of our phones. So the um, the Notes app
Yeah,
that our guy mentioned a second ago, I actually use that to keep. Dadgummit, boy, went dark. Um, I actually use that to keep all the recipes for my soft plastic colors.
right.
Uh, so the nice thing about the Notes app, if you have an iPhone, is you can type in all your stuff
It goes up.
and
You don't lose it.
right. And you can take pictures to add to the note. You can add a table to the note. You can do all kinds of
Yep,
things. And then I don't lose it. Notebooks tend to disappear over time, or cards disappear, or they get dirty or stained, and you can't read them anymore. If I put it in the Notes app, it saves to the cloud. I've got access to it on my laptops and stuff like
right,
that. Because like when I make soft plastics, I want to make sure that my recipe is the exact same every time.
right.
Um, and so we use that. I think the other cool thing that you can do, apps that work for fishermen, especially like if you're you know promotional staff or ambassador or something like that, is there's an app to make like quick TikTok videos and stuff like that, Instagram reels and things like that I use, called CapCut. It's CAPCUT. And import you can import all the different photos and videos and stuff like that. But if you're on the iPhone and you use iMovie, it wants to squish everything into a horizontal format, and it cuts off the top and the bottom. CapCut allows you to make those vertical videos, like you're holding your phone, that work for TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, Stories, all of those things, and it doesn't mash it up. They also
Right.
have a ton of different music that you can add to it, tons of effects, and it's a free application.
There you go.
I love free 99. It's my favorite price.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that FREE number too.
yeah, that's a great number. Free
Mm,
99 is the best. And so CapCut is what I've been using for like TikTok and stuff like that. You can make a video super quick, and you don't need a huge, tech brain to be able to use it. I had an influencer that's a social media marketer recommend it to me, and I tried it. I was like, oh, I'm not using iMovie anymore. Like, forget that.
Does
Like,
it
this is
does it do
so.
like these streaming channels? If you build a video, can you push it up to like all three or four at the same time, like reels?
Um, you can, yes. So most of the time it'll want to go to TikTok. But if you don't have TikTok, you can save it to your phone with no watermarks or
There you go.
anything on the back, which is
Nice.
nice. And then you can save different versions of all of your projects. And then it has this really cool feature. So let's say I've got, I don't know, 30 pictures, right? I go out and I take a picture of all the fish I catch during a day, but they're just pictures. And I don't want to mess with animation effects and all of this. You can allow it to create the video for you. It will set it to music and give you a bunch of different templates, and it auto generates all the different effects and a bunch of different stuff and makes a really spit polished, quick 30-second video with all of your images and all these effects and the music set to it like you want. And it has all kinds of different themes that you can select from,
Yeah.
but it makes that thing instantly.
It
And so
sounds
you're
like
not,
the old Quick app that GoPro bought and screwed it
yeah,
all
but,
up.
but way better,
Yeah, sounds
way,
good.
way
And,
better.
and that guys, that is called CapCut. CapCut.
Yep.
Awesome.
And it's a good one for anybody that looks at my TikTok videos. You'll see that down where they put the filter or whatever you're using. You'll see CapCut. That's what that is because I'm making almost all of my videos in there. Like I can drop an 18-minute video in there and chop it however I want to. And it can become a 6-minute video or it can become a 30-second video or whatever. And then it's limited on TikTok to 3 minutes is the most that you can get right now. But it saves a copy to my phone before it ever goes into the TikTok app. So then I can upload that to YouTube. I can upload that to Instagram. I can upload that to Snapchat. I can upload that to Facebook. I can do all of that stuff. And so if you've got your accounts linked that auto shares, like if I drop something on my Instagram, it auto shares on my Facebook page and vice versa, then, a couple of clicks and you've put it on all your platforms and you're done.
Well,
It's perfect.
that wasn't that's actually something that we can go into real quick. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna back out here, guys, and I'm gonna show you something. We're talking social media apps and stuff now. When I build this show, I have used a program called IntroMate, and I will show you what I've done. Go back to me here real quick, and then I'm going to go back to Chris, and you will see that 8-second intro that I've created for him. That was done with IntroMate. I just got a few graphics like his state, Texas, his photo, his information. There's a text area for it, and then I include bump them in there. You can change the colors, so if it's red or the hues, and that's what I did to make that intro there that I plug in for all of our guys and done for Chris there. So that's intro, mate. So anybody that's a YouTuber out there that wants to create intros or even use it as outros, you can do that. The video that I use at the beginning is like a 15-second clip that I had my son Ben do the voiceover. It was also done on there, and the video edit credits at the end was done with the iPhone. So I mean, everybody laughs at me at work, Chris, because I'm sitting there all day in different assignments where I greet people. When there's nobody coming in, I jump on my phone and I'll do a video or work on something to prepare for the show. And everything is done. When you watch the credits, I've done it all with some type of app from the iPhone App Store. So
Yep.
yeah,
So,
so
that's what we're doing here, and I'm hoping people will share this so that we can get this knowledge out. So we're telling you many apps that you can download for free that will make your fishing experience better, make sharing your fishing experience easier. Like it's like you should definitely share this. Tag a buddy in it, because the information that you're getting here, they would have to read a lot of articles and talk to a lot of people to disseminate that information. You're getting it here in 20-25 minutes, and they can even fast forward and go back and take notes and all of that crap. Like, do your buddies a favor and share this with them.
And not only that, but even some of these apps that may cost 99 cents or 2.99 or 4.99. Granted, I don't like the direction they're going where they're starting to do subscription based stuff where you have to pay for stuff monthly. But some of the stuff out there is still just a one-time fee. If it's a 4.99 app or even a 9.99 app, just consider it an investment in your fishing tackle box. I mean, it's just like buying a pack of bait somewhere. A bag of Senkos is $7. So I mean, something like this that you can use 4 or 5 times to produce your GoPro video because, or do something for your sponsors, that you're working with. When you're throwing up their logo in your video, I mean, it goes a long way. The investment is going to be returned hundredfold when you get that 20% discount on or $1,000 item, and save $200. So something to think about, guys. Anyway, well, Chris, we've ate up 47 minutes, so we can kill it, brother. Anything else you can think of tonight? Oh well, gas buddy for your trips. You want to get the cheapest gas on the way to and from a tournament. If you're camping, you can get on. I just downloaded where I just bought myself that little RV. I downloaded a traveling app called. I got my glasses on. Let's see. Um, recreation.gov. It's got all and RV Life. So those locations are. If you type in a lake that you're going to and you're taking an RV or you're going to camp, you can check those two apps and they can help you determine whether it got electric, sewer, water if you're using an RV, or if they have primitive camping for something like a tent. So, and I was talking to Beth, Google apps, the Google app too, when you're traveling down the road, if you're using it'll also tell you about where the restaurants are, gas stations are, stuff like that too. But if you're looking to save 20 cents a gallon versus 3.50 a gallon versus 3.30 or something, and you only have to travel 3 miles back off the interstate to save $6, might pay for your sandwich that you're gonna get at McDonald's or something. So, but anyway, yeah, I agree, Chris. I hope a few of the folks that have watched tonight, we've had between 3 and 5 viewers here most of the evening. Take a look at this. And guys, if you do watch this and you have apps on your phone that you feel like would be beneficial to somebody, throw a screenshot up in the comment section. We'd love to see what you guys are using out there, and I would love to know because personally, I'm always looking for a better way to do things, and no reason to recreate the wheel when somebody has a good one out there. So, final thoughts, Big Daddy.
It's cold water season, getting cold in a lot of places. Dress for the swim.
Amen. Amen. All right, Chris, I will see you next Tuesday, Big Daddy. If you have any ideas on what you want to talk about, and then, guys, in 2 weeks, all of us are going to try to send out a video greeting on the December 20th show. Hopefully, all the folks that have been a part of the show will send me a small 15 to 20-second video clip, maybe with their sponsors in the background. So wishing everybody a happy and Merry Christmas. Um, Hope you enjoyed my festive look tonight. I wanted you guys to feel festive with us. And but Chris and I will be back next week, and we will be chatting something merry and jolly. Be blessed. Chris, be safe tonight, buddy, going home.
All right. We'll see you.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching the show tonight. Share, like, follow, comment, and screenshot what you guys use on your phones when you're out fishing. And I wish you guys the very good blessed. Take care, and we will see you next Tuesday evening. Also, if you are on here in an hour, I will be joining Randy Newton at the Florida Kayak Anglers of Florida podcast in about 1 hour. Come join us. It's all about stocking stuffers.